Hey, it's me, MLB, back with a very special chapter. This is chapter 51 of Serendipity, titled Legally Married. You nodded, touching your fingertips to your forehead to try and alleviate some of the nauseating throb that was there. Water! Your bridesmaid called out to the driver of the car. We need water back here. Do you have water? Does anyone have water? A gaggle of chattering followed as each girl tried to brainstorm other ideas on how to relieve the nausea without water, seeing as no one in the car had any water on them. The best they could come up with was to fan you rapidly, and so that's how you arrived at the quaint church in the vineyard, being fanned from all directions, with one of your girls chanting words of encouragement to you. Once out of the car, you started to feel much better, and you took a few deep breaths in while your girls flitted around you, fixing up your outfit and making sure it was on straight while telling you how beautiful you looked. You smiled weakly at the two of them, then closed your eyes to steel yourself before heading up to the stairs to the doors of the church. Everyone got into position, and the ushers on the door gave you a nod before opening the door for the bridesmaids to enter. Your heart was pounding as you watched your bridesmaids walk the aisle before you, the thumping in your chest making your knees weak. With a final smile to the door guards, you started off down the aisle yourself, taking shaky steps after shaky step towards your beautiful number one hero husband, who was standing proudly at the front with his two groomsmen and their little boys standing beside him. As you got closer, you could see tears rolling down his cheeks, and you teared up as well. Don't cry, you wailed to yourself. You got to the front and he reached out to take your hand, helping you up the steps, then standing with you in front of the celebrant. Greetings all, the celebrant welcomed the guests. We are gathered here today for the union of Yinlin and Izuku Midoriya, also known as the number one hero Deku. There was a polite clap that rose up through the crowd, and you smiled at your man and squeezed his hand. His eyes were shining with love, and he wiped another tear from his eye as he looked at you. The ceremony started, and the celebrant did a wonderful job, keeping the proceedings short and on track as he slowly talked through everything. As the ceremony came to an end, the celebrant called for the rings. Would the ring bearer please come forward so we can do the exchange of vows and rings, he asked. A small woof drew the attention of the crowd as Cat, the Pomeranian, trotted down the centre of the aisle with the rings tied to a pillow that was positioned on his back. He glared at every single person as he passed them, making his way to the front. Cameras clicked and giggles followed in his wake as he neared the front of the church. Cat doggy! Soshi cried with excitement when he saw his favourite ball of fluff. Cat, sit! Chisuke called loudly from his father's arms, and the little ball of fluff, surprisingly, obeyed immediately, sitting his ass down in the middle of the aisle. Chuckles and giggles rippled through the crowd, and Deku hissed at his pup. Cat, please stand up and come here, he called softly with a lot of pleading in his voice. Please, Cat, please! The little pup glared at his owner, while Chisuke giggled cheekily from Bakugo's arms. Oi, little runt, Bakugo chuckled deviously, that smirking scowl on his face showing just how pleased he was with his cheeky son's antics. Finally, after much coaxing and outlandish promises from Deku, Cat got back up and walked slowly to the foot of the steps that led up onto the church rostrum so that Deku could reach out for the rings and take them off the pillow. Cat, here! Chisuke demanded once the rings had been removed, and the ball of angry fluff walked over and sat down beside Bakugo's leg, looking up at his pint-sized commander. Deku stood up with the rings and took your one, holding it at the tip of your ring finger as the celebrant quoted the lines. I, Izuku, Deku repeated after the celebrant, take you, Yin, to be my lawfully wedded wife. He gave you a watery-eyed, wobbly smile as he slid the wedding ring onto your finger, and you smiled back at him, tears pricking the corners of your eyes. And I, Yin, you repeated after the celebrant, take you, Izuku, to be my lawfully wedded husband. You took his finger and placed the ring at the tip and then slid it on, pushing it all the way down to the base of his finger. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the celebrant announced to the crowd. You may now kiss the bride. Deku's eyes flowed with happy tears as he leaned in, his nervous lips crashing into yours and making you bend backwards as he leaned over you for the kiss, while supporting your lower back. There was a rally of cheers and clapping from the crowd, and he pulled back as you straightened. Then you both grinned at everyone there and held hands, elated that the hard part of the day was now done. I would like to present to the witnesses of this room, Mr. and Mrs. Izuku and Yin Midoriya, the celebrant said in an overjoyed voice, a second round of cheers going up. The ending music started and you and Deku held hands as you walked off the platform and down the aisle with the groomsmen and bridesmaids in pairs trailing behind you both. "We're married," you squealed to him with excitement as you got to the church doors. "You look so beautiful, Yin," he breathed, giving you another loving look with his emerald eyes, his face almost glowing with love. "Many happy returns." Todoroki's deep voice behind you both brought you out of your happy little place, and you and Deku turned to thank him. "Oh, thank you very much, Todoroki," Deku said with a sheepish smile to his groomsman. He'd completely forgotten that he was there, to be honest. You stood at the entrance of the church, and the guests filed out in groups to give you both hugs and share their enthusiasm for the union, and you talked and took photos with everyone there, until the time came for you and the bridal party to go and have photos in the vineyard. Yay! Congrats on getting married. There ends chapter 51. Stay tuned for chapter 52.